You know that flinch when the cashier says the total? There's an exact income where that flinch disappears forever. We're finding it together, one paycheck at a time. Let's talk about what your actual life looks like at every income level, from surviving to the bank calls you sir or ma'am unprompted. Because there's a version of this conversation that's just numbers on a screen, and then there's the version where you actually feel the difference. The sigh at checkout, the way your shoulders sit, whether you check the price of the appetizer before ordering it, whether you order the appetizer at all. That's what we're doing today. Not spreadsheets, not lectures, just an honest, occasionally uncomfortable look at what each number actually buys you and, more importantly, what it doesn't. We're climbing from $20,000 all the way to $1 million, one tier at a time. And I promise the jumps get weirder, not just bigger. Let's start at the bottom. $20,000 a year. This is the every purchase is a negotiation tier. Rent takes a chunk that should honestly be illegal, and you've mastered the art of the grocery run where you do math in your head at every aisle. You know the exact combination of ramen, eggs, and whatever's on sale that gets you through the week. Your car, if you have one, makes a sound you've decided not to think about. A night out means splitting an appetizer and nursing one drink for 2 hours like it's a hostage situation. You've got a gym membership you're still paying for from a burst of January motivation you no longer recognize. And canceling it feels like admitting defeat, so it just continues. DoorDash isn't a treat, it's a math problem you lose every time you attempt it. You're not broke. You're just one car repair away from finding out what broke actually feels like, and you know it, which is its own quiet kind of stress that never fully turns off. $40,000. This is the tier where you stop flinching quite as hard. You can order the entree without doing mental gymnastics first. Maybe you've got a roommate situation that's tolerable instead of a war crime. Nobody's stealing your labeled leftovers anymore, or at least not as often. You're starting to build a little cushion. Not much, but enough that a flat tire is an inconvenience instead of a full-blown crisis. You still check your bank app before big purchases, but it's a glance now, not a full forensic audit. You can say yes to a friend's birthday dinner without pretending you already ate. Costco starts making a weird kind of sense to you, and you start buying things in bulk like a tiny, tired adult. You've graduated from surviving to getting by, which sounds unglamorous but is genuinely a real milestone worth acknowledging. $60,000. Now things start feeling almost normal. You can actually save a little each month without performing surgery on your budget to make it happen. You might have your own place, no roommate required, and it doesn't feel like a stretch to keep the thermostat at a normal human temperature instead of technically alive. You go out to eat and order what you want, not what's cheapest on the menu, and you don't announce it to the table like it's a personal achievement anymore. You start thinking in slightly bigger terms. Maybe a real vacation once a year. Not just a weekend trip you called a vacation, to make yourself feel better about not going anywhere. You might even have a savings account that isn't just a checking account wearing a costume. The stress doesn't disappear, but it stops being the loudest voice in the room. $100,000. This is the number everyone talks about like it's some mythical finish line, and here's the truth. It's genuinely a different world, but it's not yacht different. It's, I don't check the price before ordering dessert. Different. You've got real savings building. Maybe you're investing consistently instead of just meaning to, which, if you remember our video on the investing order, is its own whole journey. You can handle a surprise vet bill or a broken laptop without recalculating your entire month. You've probably stopped buying the store brand version of everything out of habit, even though half the time you can't actually tell the difference. People assume you're doing great, and depending on your city and your debt, you might just be really good at looking calm about it, which, honestly, might be the most valuable skill on this entire list. Quick gut check before we keep climbing. Notice that every tier so far has been about relief, not luxury. Nobody's talking about yachts yet. We're just talking about the absence of dread. Keep that in mind because it's about to flip. $250,000. Okay, now we're somewhere genuinely comfortable. You're likely thinking about a house, or you already have one, and the mortgage doesn't make your stomach drop every time the statement lands in your inbox. Travel stops being a someday thing and starts being a let's actually book it thing, flights and all, no spreadsheet required. You tip well without doing math, which honestly feels amazing the first few times and then just becomes normal. Friends might start treating you a little differently, some warmer, some weirder, and you learn real fast which is which, sometimes over an uncomfortable dinner where somebody forgets their wallet. You've probably got a financial advisor now, or at least you've Googled, do I need one more than once at 1 a.m. for reasons you don't fully want to examine. Here's a small, slightly uncomfortable truth about this tier. This is usually where the first real conversations about money start happening in relationships. Not can we afford dinner conversations. Should we combine accounts and what does that actually mean for us conversations? It's a good problem. It's still a genuinely new kind of problem. $500,000. This is where the conversation shifts from, can I afford this to, should I bother? You're not price checking milk. You're evaluating whether something's actually worth your time, which is a genuinely different mental framework most people never get to experience. And honestly, a little disorienting the first time you notice it happening. Private school for the kids becomes a real conversation, not a joke you make, and then quietly panic about. You might own a second property or you're seriously eyeing one casually the way other people browse a menu. The anxiety doesn't fully vanish. It just changes shape from, will I make rent, to, am I optimizing this correctly? Which, fair warning, is its own special kind of exhausting that nobody warns you about on the way up. $1 million. Here's the twist nobody explains about this number. It doesn't feel like winning the game the way movies suggest. It feels like finally having a proper safety net under a life that, honestly, mostly looks the same as it did at $250,000, just with less background static and fewer 1 a.m. spirals about the mortgage statement. You could stop working and probably be fine for a good while, depending on how you live, but most people at this level are still working, still checking emails at dinner, still stuck in the exact same traffic as everyone else, in a slightly nicer car, listening to the exact same podcast. The real shift isn't the mansion. Most people at this level don't even have one. It's that decisions stop being ruled by fear. You buy the plane ticket without spiraling for 3 days first. You help a family member without wrecking your own plan or quietly resenting them for asking. That's the actual prize. Not the number itself, but what stops living rent-free in your head every single day. Here's what's wild when you look at the whole climb side by side. The jump from $20,000 to $60,000 changes your entire daily existence. Sleep, stress, what you eat, how you talk about money, whether you flinch at the self-checkout screen. But the jump from $500,000 to $1 million barely changes your day-to-day life at all. Same coffee order. Same commute probably, just in a nicer car. The house might be bigger, sure, but the actual texture of a random Tuesday looks remarkably similar at both ends of that particular jump. Which, if you think about it for more than a few seconds, is a little bit wild. Which means the real, life-changing money isn't actually at the top of this list. It's much lower than most people assume. It's wherever the flinch disappears, wherever you stop doing math in your head at the grocery store, wherever a flat tire becomes an inconvenience instead of a crisis. For a lot of people, that's not $1 million. That's not even close to $1 million. That's just enough to stop being afraid, and that number is smaller and more reachable than the internet usually makes it feel. And maybe that's the actual point of climbing this whole ladder together. Not to make $1 million feel more urgent, but to make the earlier tiers feel less permanent. Wherever you're standing on this list right now, the version of you one tier up isn't a different person with a different personality. It's just you with slightly less dread attached to a Tuesday. That's genuinely worth working toward, even if nobody hands you a trophy for it. If you want more breakdowns like this, real numbers, real life, no fluff, and definitely more jokes about Costco, hit subscribe and stick around.